Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 832. Now, in today's episode, we are going into the topic, the subject of manifesting a relationship. Now, you might be thinking, well, Joseph, I don't want a relationship. And that's okay. This might not be specifically for you. However, I would encourage you to consider utilizing this still, because maybe you want to change it to friendship as we get clarity on this. Or maybe you just want to understand why maybe previous relationships didn't work out the way that you would like them to work out. This is not necessarily about relationships, although it is. It is about your relationship to your relationships, right? Because you're going to have certain values, you're going to have certain criterias, and the more you understand about yourself, the more you're able to understand why you do what you do, why you attract the kind of people into your life. Or the last thing is, maybe you want to improve your relationship. So maybe you both, if you can do this solo, even if you are in a relationship, but it will allow you both to understand more about what's important to you. A bit like love languages, we've briefly talked about in the past, but you know, the love language, which is like the words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, and gifts or doing things, acts of service, in other words. But we're going to go a little bit deeper than that. We're going to really figure out what is happening in the brain that causes you to either attract bad relationships or even good ones, but understand why you do what you do. Rarely do we really think about the conscious aspects from what is happening at a deeper unconscious level. Now, the other good news is, on the next episode, I'm going to be recording a accompanying hypnotic process for this. And the reason why I like to do that is I like you to be able to get the conscious understanding first. You've got to have that upgrade and awareness, and then you can take that into the hypnotic session. And that just means we work consciously and we work unconsciously. So with that, let's get straight into when it comes to relationships. And just once again, this is about getting you to understand what's been happening, how you've attracted or who you've attracted, and how we can change, transform those levels. Okay, so if you do have a pen and paper at hand, I highly suggest you use it, because it's like getting it out of your mind kinesthetically by writing it down. I think it's even better than typing it out. If you just kind of use the kinesthetic aspect of writing, it's going to be really, really powerful to you. So the first thing I'd like you to go ahead and consider is, what is important to you in a relationship? What is important to you? Now, you may have a list of these. Here's what I would call a value. Values are the things which are important to us, and values are the things that drive us forward. If you have a higher value for money, the chances are you're going to be more money orientated. If you have a higher value for family, you're going to have a higher value to be in a family or people that we think as family. Now, of course, we're going to have a mixture of all of these, and we are specifically working on relationships here, but go ahead and consider what is important to you about a relationship. Now, if you need help here, it could be things like, well, I want intimacy. That's important to me, to have intimacy with someone. Or it could be, say, trust. It could be going outside, like doing activities outside, because you wouldn't want someone who's not trustworthy, I'm going to presume. You're not going to, if you're like an outgoing person, always doing activities, snowboarding, surfing, or anything else, and then you may have been attracting people who are more so-called of a homebody. So get clear on exactly what you want in a relationship. Consider what is important to you. Now, what other examples could there be? Well, it could be companionship. It could be the same kind of hobbies. We can create miracles. We can attract amazing things into our life once we tune in. The problem is we are unconsciously attracting things that we're not consciously aware of, right? So we are unconsciously attracting things beneath the surface. And usually they are wired up with things like anxiety, fear, worry, limiting beliefs of not being good enough, worthy. I mean, think about that. If you didn't have any self-worth, what kind of things, or we should say kind of person, do you think you may attract into your life? If your self-worth is low, who is going to be the person that you're going to attract? Either someone with the same value of low self-worth, but more likely we might attract a narcissist, someone who's going to take advantage of that. So just consciously consider what's important with you. Define it, decide it. Now, if I were you, I would come up with a list of at least 20 things. 20 values are things that are important to you in a relationship. There's going to be, in reality, many, many more. But think about it on a value level. Now, notice we haven't even talked about, say, how people look, or because we all have different preferences when it comes to attraction, right? But we're not going there even yet. We want to go to the real substance, the real important things. Now, you might actually say on that values that, yeah, attractiveness is important. It could be someone who works out. That could be important to you. If you like to work out, you may want someone who is equally leveling up to that level of workout. The value could be someone who looks after their body. It could be the value that they like to cook. You get to choose here. So really get to choose your own desires. Notice what is important to you when it comes to a relationship. Get that down on paper. Now, I know I'm going to be moving forward with this. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, feel free to carry on listening, or you may even just pause it while you take the time to do this. I mean, look, if we want to attract something great, let's maybe put a little bit of thought and effort into attracting that great person. But you have to clearly define what that is. Now, interesting, weird, but important question. And that question is this, because it's going to uncover a different value that you may not have been thinking. And that is, what would make you leave a relationship? What would make you leave a relationship? Now, that's going to come up with something, right? So you could go, oh, unfaithfulness. Or it could be narcissism. Narcissism? That's not even a word. Maybe it can be today. But a narcissistic person, right? So would make you leave a relationship, or lack of trust, and all those things. Or breaking trust. So when you come up with that so-called negative of what would make you leave a relationship, now turn that upside down. What is the positive version of that? Maybe it is trust. Maybe you wrote that down, which is good. But sometimes by thinking about what will make you leave a relationship, it will bring to the surface at an unconscious level a value that you didn't know that was possible, which is important to you. Like it's a deal breaker for you. And then we just get to turn it upside down into its positive statement or positive word as a value. So sometimes that'll creep up with something new, or it will just, at the very least, if you had it already, give you a sense of validation that you've got the right value there. Now, the other thing you can go ahead and consider is other relationships that you've had in the past. You see, we may have had loving relationships, we may have had some bad relationships, but there's something interesting about even the bad ones. I know you're like, oh my goodness, oh, Joseph, I would not want that kind of person back into my life again. I just would not want to be near them whatsoever. But think about it. You did get into that relationship for a reason. right? You didn't go in that relationship kicking and screaming, I'm sure. There's going to be something that led you to that relationship. Even if it was false in the end, like maybe, for example, if you found out eventually they were narcissistic in their behavior. Well, what did that narcissistic behavior originally present itself with? Because it could have been maybe, say, confidence. Well, we don't want the narcissistic aspect, but maybe the value of confidence in a partner is something that we want, but we want it with the other values, like the trust, like the honesty. So there's always something important, even that we may think originally is bad because the relationship ended bad, but we did get into that relationship for a certain level of attraction. And that could be physical, but it could also be, once again, around those values, right? So just consider it, because what we want to do is take that value, not the narcissistic thing which happened at the end or which was uncovered, but the thing that then made us go, okay, we want to be able to have that in its truest form. And if we have that one which we got attracted to in the beginning and then combine it with all these other ones, like I said, the value, the trust, the intimacy, all of the 20 things that you came up with, it's going to be pretty good, right? It's going to turn it into its purest form, not in the previous form of that relationship. Once you've got an idea of the things, you can then go ahead and consider in your mind maybe the physical attributes, like how would you like them to be physically? Because look, at the end of the day, physical attractiveness is important for many, many people, right? That can be incredibly important. So I ideally want to be able to get someone for you who meets all your criteria, or at the very least, most of the important ones of our criteria, okay? So have that into the mix. Don't disregard it. There are certain levels of attraction which is important to us. Physical attraction can be very, very important. If it isn't for you, that's fine. But if it is important, please include it. Please go ahead and add this to the mix. And you might be getting to this point soon when you go, oh my goodness, I'm very, very specific. But I'm going to cover that very soon, because on the one hand, we want to be specific, but also I'm going to show you we want to be kind of vague too. Because I want to keep things open. I want you to go, I want this or something better. This or something better is a statement I use every time I'm going for a goal, because I don't always know, or I don't always know what I really, really want, right? I don't always know that. And you probably have wanted many things in your life. You got it and you go, I didn't really like that. So I always like to add that, and we'll get a little bit deeper into it soon. I want this or something better. If it was in money, I'd be, I want $1 million or something better. If it was a house, I want this kind of house or something better. It just means that you've not logged, you're not like just so lasered in that you then delete all the other good things out there which were possible. But think about this as values, as guidance. It's important to find what is important to you. The things which do light up your neurology, the things which motivate you and drive you. Now, as I take a side step to this, why is this? Actually, I'll get there in a second. Remember the side step. The next thing we want to go ahead and do is then just consider the hierarchy of these important things. You see, we want to make it in a bit of a hierarchy, a bit of like a list form, in other words. So if I look at all of those things, the trust, the love, the intimacy, the adventurous, or the homebody, or the hobbies, the attraction, physical or mental or intelligent. Think about all of those things. Even might as well add some like abundance in there. Would it be nice to be able to be both abundant together? Ideally, right? There's where you get to have a blank canvas and paint the ideal kind of person that meets your inner values and your inner desires at a conscious and unconscious level. So the way that I do this is I look at that big list and go, well, if I could only have one, what would it be? You know, oh my goodness, this is going to be really hard, Joseph. Yeah, it's going to be hard. This is important. If you could only have one out of that list, and let's say we've got like 20, 30, what's going to be the most important for you? And you might go, okay, Joseph, I'm going to go for love. Okay, take the love out of the list and put it over to another area of that piece of paper. Then as you look at, and you cross it out, in other words, and you put it over here. Then you look at the remaining. Let's say there were 30, you moved one over, now you got 29. Well, what would be the next important one? Out of the remaining 29, what would be the next important one? If you could only have one out of the 29, what would it be? Then you take that one and put it over to the other piece of paper or the other bit of air of the paper, and then you cross that out of that pool, because now we've only got 28. And you just keep doing that. Now, you can go through them all if you want, but ideally, I'm looking for like your top 10, maybe top 7. Because if you think about it, those are the most important ones. And if you go for them, once you uncover the most important ones, here's what's going to really probably happen if you've had bad relationships in the past anyway. You're going to look at the top 10 or top 7 and go, oh my goodness, in that bad relationship, only one of those values and like qualities were actually there. But because it was a priority to you, unconsciously, it dismissed all the values. So there's where we're getting the conscious awareness of what is happening beneath the surface. So it's going to give you much clarity. It's going to give you an idea of why relationships work, if they fulfilled most of the criteria of the values or the insights or the qualities. And also it's going to show you why the previous relationships didn't work, because they did not meet the most important ones. They may have met one, or they may have met the number 29 or 28 or 27. So your unconscious mind grasped for that, thinking that is what you really wanted. But now we're starting to allow the unconscious to be conscious. And once you become conscious of it, you can start to direct it in a way that you desire. So you can list it from, say, that 1 to 30 or your top 10. And then as you look at the top 10, just make sure it's in some form of, it kind of feels congruent to you, in other words. So let's just say there was love, trust, and honesty, and a few others. Just make sure, yeah, they're the ones. And they're kind of from a 1, 2, 3, 4. There may be some kind of comparable ones, but the chances are there is going to be a hierarchical or hierarchy level to that. So now we've got this hierarchy of values, qualities, and things which are really important. We've had the conscious awareness of why relationships work and why they didn't work, because maybe only one of the important ones were there, or maybe the other ones were totally either disregarded or even violated. Like they violated the most important values to you, like trust, or like being mean or abusive and so on, because you wanted someone who is kind, right? So they gave you maybe the intimacy, but when it came to being kind or trust was not there. But unconsciously, it just kind of latched onto the intimacy. Can you see what we're doing here? We're allowing things to really become uncovered from the unconscious. And before I get to that sidestep, I haven't forgotten, where do we get these things? Where do we get these things which are important to us? Well, they're going to be in our past, right? The values that we have are usually can be imprinted upon us first 7 years of our life. It can be based on our family, our mother, our father, or our guardians, or people we looked up to, or our first early relationships. That's very, very possible. Now, we can't really go too deeply into it because I could spend a whole weekend just doing this for just relationships. There's so many finer details and aspects. But just so you have a conscious awareness, you may notice some of those values may be charged with a certain emotion. For example, let's say it was honesty. Well, maybe you have a lot of fear around the honesty. Like, what if I get hurt? So just make sure that you want to kind of take a deep dive even in clearing those out, any negative emotions, because you don't want any resistance. And look, if people ever want to personally work with me to let go of all these fears, worries, and doubts, I always talk around the end of the episode where you can apply for my program or you can work with someone else. I don't really mind as long as you change. But let's just say we got the hierarchy now, we got the things which are important to us. And now that sidestep just came back to me. In the beginning, I said, what if you're in a good relationship? Well, let's just say or you want to just improve the relationship. Let's say you've both done this. Now you can go, oh my goodness, our values are some aligned and some misaligned. Do I break up with this person? Do I have a divorce? No, not at all. What you want to do is share those values so that person can start to look and start to fulfill some of them. So if one of your highest ones was about being kind, wouldn't it be nice for your partner to know? And even you can then express, well, what does kindness mean to me? It could be those words of affirmation. It could be acts of service. It could be quality time, all of those things. But then now your partner now knows what's been missing. You now know what's been missing, so they can level up. And if you're doing it with them, so in other words, you've got their list, you can step up as a partner and go, do you know what? I'm recognizing my values are different, and I've been trying to fulfill my partner's values with my own values. It doesn't work like that in relationships. Only if they're equal, maybe. If you have both the same value, sure. But if you're only trying to fulfill their values and the things which are important to them based on your own criteria, of course there's going to be conflict. So it's a good idea for you to do this process together and get closer together because of this. It means you understand why you're doing what you're doing, and you can consciously start to fulfill their values, their qualities, while simultaneously they do the same to you. And therefore you get to grow and rise together as a wonderful team of lifting up. So that was a sidestep if you want to improve a relationship. Like I said, it's not specifically designed for or what the main topic is, the main aspect of attracting a relationship, but there's where you can definitely utilize it and have probably the most loving relationships you could ever imagine, which could then save from the divorce, which then could save years of child therapy if you have children. Like, there is so much things. You came together once again for the right attraction, but maybe we became complacent. Maybe we just focused on our own unconscious values and not on purpose, because it is happening beneath the surface. But now you know, right? So now as we get those, we want to then go, as I look at all of those things, what is the overriding feel? What is the feeling that you get? And I'm not talking about the negative ones. Like I said, we've got to resolve those. I want you to think about the wholesomeness of it. I want you to think about the feeling you get. And if you struggle with that, let's just say you had that relationship come into your life in the most wonderful way, in known and unknown ways, in seen and unseen ways. It's just magic. It just magically appears, which I hope and intend to happen. If that were to exist just like that, what would be the feeling you get? What is the feeling, the overarching feeling that you get? And you may want to add that in, because that could be the driving force. And we said about specifying or getting into the specifics can be a little bit too rigid. Well, now what you do is think about doing things which has that overriding feeling. If you operate from that feeling most of the time, you are going to be sending out and radiating the generalized, the abstract, that in its essence contains the context, the specific nature. So if you start to radiate that one or two amazing feelings throughout your day, you start to do more things which involve that feeling, which evokes that feeling, the chances are you are going to attract someone, or you're going to find yourself being led into the environment which creates the opportunity to feel and sense when that person is coming your way. Now, the other thing before we kind of close this off, like I said, there will be a hypnotic process on the next episode. The other thing I always like to think is how all problems begin to disappear. And we're going to do it in a very generalized way. Like I can't work with you specifically to let go of beliefs of I'm not worthy. I mean, you can, but not in this format of an audio or a video. You'd have to apply for my program or work with someone if you want to work with someone to undo those things. But one thing you want to be aware of is what is the limiting beliefs you have about yourself, and get those cleared up. Let them go. You don't have to keep them. There's experts out there who will solve it with you. That's what I do. That's what we're here to do. The other thing is, even if you did this solely by yourself, ask yourself, what do you need to learn from those previous relationships? And I mean the good ones, and I mean the bad ones. Learnings will keep you safe. So what is there to be learned from the negative narcissistic relationship if you had one? What can you learn that is for yourself, not for them? They've gone. Don't worry about them. You can say goodbye to them energetically. What can you learn for yourself that is positive and that is for the future? So that means, because it's for you and it's positive, it's not like a learning when you go, well, my learning, Joseph, is to trust no one. That's not a positive learning. Maybe it's about having the right sensory awareness to make sure they match your values. That's a better learning. What is a positive learning for yourself and your future? And that means you're telling your unconscious mind there's a safer way of being, and you can start to undo some of the old stuff. Now, for the positive relationships, what can you learn from those as well? Because even if they ended, there's still qualities there, and maybe there's things that you can improve upon. To communicate better, for example, to be open with your feelings with the right person. There's always learnings in the positive and also the negative relationships. There's always something there. So just ask yourself, what can I learn for this that is for myself, for the which is positive, and for the future? So as a recap, so before you get to the hypnosis process, which will be on the next episode, what we've done here is we've uncovered the unconscious values by going, what is important to me? What else is important to me? What else is important to me? In other words, the qualities of a relationship, the attributes. And then what we began to do is put it in a hierarchy. If I could only have one, what would it be? Put it over here. If I could only have one more out of the remaining ones, what would it be? Put it over here. And then you're going to have a form of an order from the most to the lesser important. They're still important, but just slightly less to you. And then you want to be very clear on what feelings that you have, like clear up if there's any negative associations like scarcity, fear, doubt. Work with someone if you need to for that, because you don't want to be sending mixed signals to the world, right? To the universe, to yourself, to other people. You want to operate from a whole congruent way. And then on top of that, we also said about the physical side of things, because that's important. Throw that into the mix. We also said, what is the overriding feeling? Like if it just existed fully and manifested to your life, what would be the most important feeling it would give you? And that means we can operate and radiate from that. We also went into like learnings from our past relationships, whether they be positive or negative. There's always something to learn, always something to learn. And we also went into a little bit like, even if you don't want to manifest a relationship, we can actually use this to make our relationships better. That means we don't just fulfill our unconscious values, we fulfill their qualities and values, and you get closer together like that. So I really hope you got value from this. You can take like a good day just going over this, a few hours at least, right? So get real clear, make it important to you. And like I said, I could do a whole 3-day training over just this topic and then really install it at an unconscious level. So that's how big this topic is. But once again, I hope that you enjoyed this program. And now, of course, if you ever want to go ahead and apply and work with me, if you're experiencing the I'm not good enough, the I'm not worthy, all those kind of things, there is a significant investment. It is a customized program where you get to work with me and my team. You go ahead and book a call with the team. And when you get in a call with them, and you do so by going to josephclough.info/talk, we'll get clear. I say we, they'll get clear with you on exactly what you want to let go of. Okay? We'll get clear on exactly what you want to let go of, totally clear on what you want to achieve, get absolutely clear what's stopping you, and then we'll come up with the steps to make it a reality. Like I said, it is an application. We only work with a small number of people, and that's josephclough.info/talk, and that is an investment. It's an 8-week system customized for you. Now, if you don't want to go ahead and do that, which is absolutely fine, we actually have the new version of the app as well. And if you haven't got it, go ahead and get it anyway. It's a free hypnosis.app. There are all these free episodes, well over 800 in there. You also have the hypnosis library. Now in that library, we've got hundreds of hypnosis sessions. And the good thing is you can favorite it so it goes to the top of the list. You can go ahead and make it a day to a night version, which makes you go, it kind of slowly goes less and less in volume. You can repeat the audios. You can create custom hypnosis sessions where you just choose a topic and a few symptoms, and it'll generate an audio around the things that you've chosen. And it will have a day and night version, of course, as well. You get to have these 4-hour sleep hypnosis sessions. Loads of topics there. That means you just transform as you go to sleep, and it happens beneath the surface 4 hours. You've got these morning meditations. You get to create your day the way that you want to shine. And there's also audio programs on there as well. Now, on top of that, as features, I said about the repeats, the hearting, but you've also got the night and dark, or the day, the light and dark mode. You can create your own custom playlists. You just go ahead and create a playlist, or you go to audio, go to the top right, and you can add it or create a playlist as an add to a playlist you've already done, or create one. And of course, it will just allow you to fully cater your experience with this new version of the app. And if you are getting value, please go ahead and leave a review. Your review can change someone's world. They will read your review. It takes like 30 seconds. It doesn't have to take long, but when they read your review, they might take that leap of faith and go, I'm going to just listen to a free hypnosis. Even this one, this could, and this for them, it's not about me. It could transform their relationship. It could create a relationship. It could get them at least a bit of understanding why they've been attracting narcissistic behavior or people into their life. So your words makes the difference, that makes the difference via the making a review on the app. Okay, you can do it within the app, right at the bottom of the home screen. You just do it, and you just do it. You just go scroll down to the bottom, tap it, and then you just follow the instructions. It will take you to the App Store, in other words. So I hope you got value from this. Just so you know, I believe in you so much, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode, and that will be the hypnotic version of how to make this an unconscious process of attraction, manifestation of the relationships that you desire, and I believe you deserve. Many thanks, and goodbye.